it's a good job we'll have an episode of Polar... That one bit me again.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to So We're Watching That Right, a podcast where two lesbians bully each other for having the same taste in anime. I'm Becky, scientifically certified best girl.
And I'm Val, everyone's favorite harem protagonist.
The season's big hitters are starting to wrap up, and we're getting ready for our spring season live stream. As ever, on that, we'll be rating this season's shows, we'll be picking what to watch for the coming season. We also have some announcements coming up for what we're going to be doing in season 4, which will be a bit different. We're tweaking our format.
Because I'm going to bully you about putting too much work on your plate, as usual. This
Hey,
is my...
entirely independently of any of that, I came up with a major time save this morning on my own initiative. I'm a good girl.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are.
I
good
listen
girl.
when my... Don't push it.
Why? This button you've handed me? I'm going to push the button. Anyway.
Fucking damn it.
We haven't even started the episode proper yet. Let's go!
Let's go to Shiboyugi playing death games to put food on the table, episode 11, which is the final episode because the first episode of this was double length, so they only made 11 numbered episodes.
Mm-hmm.
In which the Candlewoods game, the Stumps versus Bunnies, ends about as you'd expect. You know, we left off with Yuki confronting Kiara, the girl who lives for killing. Kiara says to Yuki, you like these games as much as I do, you like the killing. And Yuki has a vision quest and finds her purpose in life and adopts her master Hakashi's goal of surviving 99 games, and eventually she wins the fight. I don't think I actually said on the cast at any point, I looked up the Stumps and Bunnies thing, and I believe it comes from a classical Chinese folktale. I forgot to note down the name of the guy who first documented it, but as I understand it, the story is that a rabbit runs headlong into a tree stump and dies, and a farmer finds it, and so the next day he waits by the tree stump to see if the tree stump will kill another rabbit for him, over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So, deranged world. We do get more, extensive, weird, expressivist sequences.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Yuki has these visions. When she takes an injury and she thinks she's been beaten, she sees all the girls that she's killed and that have died or that she's played other games with, including a bunch of things that haven't happened yet, according to the timeline.
Yeah.
She sees characters from her 27th and 30th games, and Candlewoods is her 9th.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, because of the timeline of the show, which is adapting things in a very non-chronological order for the sake of a specific vibe, they decided to, round that set of loose threads up into one coherent but incoherent, experience for this climax.
Yeah, it's a cool sequence. I enjoyed it, but it is, also, I didn't really clock at the time how much of a sort of continuity knot they were tying themselves in. You were the one who said that after we finished.
Yeah.
I have also now read the full first volume of the book, which only covers Ghost House, the first game, and Candlewoods, the one we just finished. It doesn't cover the other two, which I think are in book 2. And there are some pretty significant differences, not least this point about order. But also, in the book, the sequence of events of the Candlewoods game is about the same, but we don't get something that is fairly significant in the anime, which is a whole bunch of flashbacks of Moegi and Kiara, the antagonists of the sequence. We get a backstory about Moegi, about her... I don't know what was going on with her parents, but she wanted to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
And Kiara met her in her first death game. Candlewoods is her second. And I guess took her in as a student the way Hakashi does with Yuki. And in the anime, we get a whole bunch of disjointed, but in a really compelling way, flashbacks of Moegi probably killing her parents.
Mm-hmm. That is implied.
Yeah. There's a really cool bit where it looks like it must be just after she's done the deed and she's discovering that it hasn't fixed all her problems. She's crouched on the floor and she's pounding on the floor and she's covered in blood to indicate that she's done a murder. But as she's pounding on the floor, she is bleeding white fluff because she has the preservation treatment. And it's like, oh yeah, something drastically weird has happened. That might well be in a later book somewhere. It's not in book 1. The things that are really interesting with the anime, in some ways the things that captivated me about the anime and made me really interested to keep watching it, which is like the vibe, the tone, this really washed out, stark visual style that is often abstracted, the super slow pacing. That isn't really in the book. If you just adapted the book,
it would be a very different...
Well, it'd be a lot shorter, is the thing. Like, you could definitely do a more conventional adaptation of the book where Ghost House was probably 40 minutes and Candlewoods was probably 40 minutes. Because there's not a lot of action in the book. It's very heavy on, like, description and tone and internal monologuing about insecurities and stuff. So somebody had some real, like, genius tier ideas about how to go about adapting this, I think.
Yeah, we have talked about how, like, the director or the producer for this one, I forget which, his most notable production previous to this was Days with My Stepsister, which is a very slow burn romance. It's kind of interesting going from that to this, but also the most interesting things about this show are probably the things that he brought to it.
Yeah. I'm curious, did you like this show?
Yeah. I know I will catch a lot of shit for, like, I don't know if catching shit is the right word. I will have assumptions made about my taste that mean, like, oh, I only like faster paced stuff or rom-coms or isekai or stuff. My tastes are fairly wide, and this is squarely in the zone where I'm interested in watching it, but it's just like, it is kind of also a downer. So depending on my mood, I'm less, like, compelled to watch it every week. Like, there have been a couple times this season where I'm just like, God, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it is heavy. I was asking because, for me, if you know other shows that I like, it's really obvious that I would like this one. Like Boogie Pop, Den Coil, Lane, which I don't know if I'd like Lane if I watched it now, but I like the vibe.
Yeah. And, like, compared to other shows in this vein, I like this more. But I'm also, like, viewing it as more of a style piece than adapting a particularly deep work or anything. Like, this is a vibes show.
It's extremely a vibes show. It's also a vibes book, honestly. Like, the book has a different vibe to the show, but it's still very vibes-ish. And part of what makes it really interesting, so we talked maybe a couple of weeks ago about the voyeurism of the setup, right? It's a death game. They're constantly on camera. They're being dressed in these very exploitative outfits. The voyeurism gets emphasized, I think, more in the book. Like, obviously, we see it in the anime.
Yeah, because you were talking about this and said that the show was kind of, like, gazy in a way, and I was just like, it feels less that than a lot of stuff, because so much of the style of this show is not detailing the characters. It is a lot of, we're viewing these characters from awkward angles, distant views. They are silhouettes most of the time. Yeah. In a way that, if you're doing in text, doesn't really land the same if you're trying to describe the same situations.
Yeah, so let me try to put more precise words to what the text is like. Because of the format of the games, like, the girls get one outfit per game. So at the start of each game, there is a scene where Yuki wakes up and she takes stock of her outfit, and the prose goes through the outfit in this really kind of clinical way where it's almost like forensic. It's like, it's got this kind of shaping and these different parts of the outfit, and it's shaped like this and stuff. And, you know, it really brings out the fact, again, that the girls have been dressed this way while unconscious as part of being inducted into the games. And it makes it uncomfortable in a way that I don't think looking at the show is when it's doing the shots that reproduce those scenes. Which is not to say that I think the show is particularly pervy. I think calling it gazy was a bit of an overstatement, especially compared to some shows we're going to talk about today.
Sorry.
Sorry, I've got to get the odd lick in here and there. But the way it feels in the book is so... it's That's the horror of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that makes it powerful as a work of horror. And I do want to briefly talk about the author commentary, just to wrap this up. Because all through watching the show and all through reading the book, I was like, what was going on in this person's head? And actually, in the book, before it gets to the author's commentary, this book won a prize. One of the major, debut light novel prizes. And it's got little, 2-page commentaries by 2 of the judges from that competition, explaining why they picked it. And they're talking about how there are some established narratives of death games. And the fact that this novel was about a character going through the motions of doing her day job, but her day job is death games and she doesn't really know why she does them, really made this one stand out. Like the kind of almost nihilism of a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, then we get to the afterword, and the afterword starts, ... please allow me to explain, ... And there's a little bit of preamble about thanks to my editors and stuff. The author's name is Yoshiyuki. I've not been able to find any clear information about gender, but the afterword does have them referring to themselves as a dude at one point. But the story they tell is, it was 2021, they were a neat, a shut-in, it was 2021, it was a fucking bleak time. And they were running out of savings, not having any social contact, continually writing stuff in the way that, obsessive writers can't help writing stuff. And it got darker and darker until it turned into this book. And I think, maybe it's a little cheap and reductive to say, well, yeah, it makes sense that this is a COVID novel, but also it kind of does make sense that this is a COVID novel.
Mm-hmm.
And I am definitely going to get book 2, because the one thing that does come across more clearly in the books, really, is the sapphic attraction. There's a lot of stuff in the books, which, if you look for it carefully, it is there in the show, but it's never explicitly mentioned. But the way that Yuki looks at other girls, full of desire, and several of the other girls get into various forms of toxic relationships as well.
Everyone's favorite.
Anybody who's listening to this show's probable favorite.
Yep.
Anyway, it's really, really interesting, and we spent 15 minutes talking about it. Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Journal of the Witch, episode 12, in which Asa does finally audition for and get into a band. We get a fun scene of Makio and Emery's mom hanging out, and they're clearly, bonding pretty well.
Yep, mom friends, let's go.
Yeah. What Asa is carrying with her, one of the things that Asa is carrying with her, which I want to quote because I think it is such an important sentiment, is in the previous episode when she was talking about, giving up and how does Makio keep going and stuff. Makio said, as long as I'm alive, I might as well struggle. Mm-hmm. Meaning, I might as well try to do something, which I think is pretty good. We have Kasamachi, Makio's maybe boyfriend, running into the lawyer character who's kind of supervising Asa's paperwork. And they go out for lunch and commiserate about toxic masculinity. And there was a little bit of a vibe that maybe the lawyer was gay and was developing a crush on Kasamachi.
I think you're reading too far into it.
I know, but I can hope.
Yeah. It was definitely an interesting thing to just have an actual discussion between 2 men about toxic masculinity in no uncertain terms.
Yeah.
There's literally no other way to read that than I stopped performing the male rituals that made me hate myself.
Yeah. A thing I like about it is that they talk about it without buzzwords. Mm-hmm. The reason I like that is not because I'm sick of buzzwords or I think that technical language for describing this stuff is bad. It's because I don't think those characters would know the buzzwords. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good move that the localizer didn't bring them in that case.
Yeah. I also think it's important to when there's stuff like toxic masculinity, a lot of people get scared off by the jargon or the term in general. Mm-hmm. And it's important to be able to have characters develop opinions on these things without needing to bring those up so that people who don't like those terms as I don't want to think about that fear response for their mental, position can have room to think about these things.
Yes. It is much easier to handle the term if you're finding it as a term for something you've already started thinking through.
Yes.
We get a scene of Asa singing in the kitchen as she and Makio are making breakfast one day. Makio compliments her singing and she flinches. And That does remind me of someone I know.
I wonder who that could be.
Well, then immediately thereafter, Asa starts talking about, like, she's not giving up on the idea of writing lyrics and, can she show some more stuff to Makio sometime? And Makio just, like, lights up and sparkles.
Mm-hmm.
And that was... If Asa is a bit you sometimes, Makio is very me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
More on that in a couple of shows' time.
Compulsive writer, who would have thunk?
Yeah. But also, a thing was revealed in this episode that is a minor passing detail that is so uncomfortably close to home that I do kind of feel nuked from orbit. Which is, so Makio has asked if Asa wants to do anything to commemorate the anniversary of her parents' death. And Asa decides that what she wants to do instead is mark her parents' birthdays. Because her parents met because their birthdays were at about the same time in April. Which is exactly how my parents met. And indeed, I don't want to give away when my parents' birthdays were, but it's within days of the dates that Asa's parents have in this show.
Yep.
Oh, it was weird. And to make it worse, in Journal with Witch, one of the dates is, of course, Homestuck Day.
Yep.
Because I am fucking cursed by that fucking number.
To be fair, you do, in some ways, perpetuate that curse. We have talked about how... I know we've argued about this. I'm not breaking that argument again. But when you were given the chance to pick a room number, you did pick 413.
When I was offered the room number, I took it because I thought it would be funny. And it's since then that I have been cursed.
No, you've been cursed before that. Let's be real.
I did not...
You didn't notice.
...have any hand in the fact that our meal vouchers at the hotel we stayed in before Christmas all had serial number 0413. Which was the fucking worst. And speaking of the fucking worst, let's talk about In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, episode 11.
Oh, these kids are so fucking stupid in ways that are unique to this show.
I mean...
They're communicating, they're just doing it bad.
They've made some choices this episode. So, at the end of the last episode, Oji, the third prince character, after Yoi and Kohaku, confessed to Yoi. And walked off, and Yoi stood there in shock for a while and then broke into a run. She runs after Oji, and she tells him that she can't reciprocate his feelings. Fine. Then we cut over to Kohaku's life. He is woken one morning by, like, pounding on his door and ringing of his doorbell, and standing on his doorstep is a very attractive young woman called Yoshiko, who is his childhood friend. And she's badgering him to go to dinner with her because she went to a restaurant the previous evening and got the hots for somebody who worked there. And eventually she bribes Kohaku into going with her because she tells him she knows of a really good cafe to get sweets at, which he immediately goes, oh, I can take Yoi there. So they go to this restaurant, and of course... it is Yoi's family restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And this is awkward enough. And Kohaku's like, well, yeah, it would make sense that she's into Oji because he's an attractive young man. And they get in, and no, it's not Oji, it's Yoi's dad that Yoshiko has a crush on because she's clearly not okay.
Yeah, teen girls never are.
Ain't that the story of this show?
I don't know, Yoi's friends are fine.
Yoi's friends are fine, and the school starts up again, and they are horrified to learn that she basically didn't see him all summer.
Mm-hmm.
And they pressure her about this, and so she goes to find him and asks him to spend time with her, and he suggests they go to this cafe that he got recommended by Yoshiko. But also, after Yoshiko had left the restaurant, Oji confronted Kohaku about going out with another girl, and told him that he'd confessed to Yoi himself, which of course Yoi hasn't mentioned to Kohaku because she shouldn't have to, but also I do kind of understand the feeling of wanting to know about stuff like that. Like,
I mean, we're coming from kind of a different place where, like, if someone asked you out, even if you said no, I'd probably want to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be really funny, and vice versa.
That's the comedic factor is not the problem here. Just like keeping an update on the people I care about.
Anyway, for various reasons, Yoi and Kohaku end up getting takeout from the cafe and going back to his place to eat it. And he has the boy flat. There's no furniture. It's like a bed.
Be super fair, this is specifically the one that he has to, like, keep people from stalking him to his actual house, I think.
Oh, yeah, like, this is the place where he lives.
This is the safe house.
Kind of, yeah. But also, he could put some basic furnishings in, and he hasn't. And, you know, they sit down at his table, and the only thing to sit on is his futon. So they fold that up, and they're like, kneeling on it at the table. And because it's a futon, it's only on one side of the table, so they're sat next to each other by the side of the table, and they're feeling both awkward and flustered about this. Kohaku starts to lean in to kiss her, kisses her on the forehead, and then, like, lays her down with him on top of her, as if they're gonna make out. And that is the moment that he chooses to ask her what happened with Oji. And her response, her initial response, and I understand, like, the shock and the fear that you might feel in that moment, her initial response is, how do you know about that? Which sadly is maybe the most suspicious thing you could say in that moment.
Yep.
And the start of the next episode is going to be...
miserable.
Oh, it's going to be horrible. I'm dreading it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we now have to talk about Tuning to the Midnight Heart. Episode 11.
Yeah.
Which is a Rika episode. She's the singer girl. This is about her getting over her fear of writing and performing original material that's been holding her back. She's still struggling with this. Buki comes up with a plan to hypnotize her, which fortunately goes nowhere because he can't learn how to do hypnosis, which is good because, Jesus Christ, can you imagine with this boy doing hypnosis?
I have a feeling it's going to come back up again in the manga, and he's going to get owned even worse.
There'll be a fifth girl, and she wants to be a hypnotist.
Oh my god, the ASM artists.
That fits too well. Help. Oh, God. Anyway, at one point, Rika is out somewhere in town, and she hears a busker, goes around the corner, and sees him, and it's her old friend Aiko. And she is performing to nobody. Like, one guy at first, but he walks off. And then somebody comes up and starts insulting her and slagging her off, and she yells at him, and he goes away. And then she does her intro spiel for a song, and telling the story of writing the song with a friend, and some stuff I'll mention in a moment, to nobody, literally performing to no crowd at all. Which, you know, I've given lectures, which are also performances, to very, very empty rooms. And I've done gigs to very, very empty rooms, never completely empty. And it sucks, and it takes so much just grit, sheer pig-headed stubbornness
To not just leave.
to keep going, and not to just leave, but to not falter.
I mean, there are stages of defeat involved.
Yes, yeah. She doesn't falter, she gets mad, which is better. But it turns out the backstory here is that in the past, when they were still friends, Rika and Aiko made a demo together. They wrote this song and they recorded it. And they sent it to a record label, and the record label said, this is pretty good, but we only want Rika. We'll sign Rika, we won't sign Aiko. And Aiko accepts this, rooting for Rika to have the career she's dreamed about, and Rika crashes out. She just, like, fails because she develops this hang-up about performing in front of people and stuff. And that's why Aiko's mad at her.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Yamabuki promises to do anything he can to help Rika overcome this block. And she asks him to meet her at the beach at night. And he gets her to show him the lyrics she's working on. And he's like, this is a bit unclear. What is it you're trying to convey? And she looks him dead in the eyes and says, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't get it. He thinks she's trying to express a feeling to Aiko. I really think that Rika must have been Apollo after this episode.
Yeah, it's especially the thing she says about why she's, songwriting it fucking in the middle of the night is she wants to tune into the, the title of the show, Tune Into the Midnight Heart.
Yeah.
And it's like, she wants to write the lyrics that her heart gives her late at night, and that's really heavy shadowing. I don't know if it's foreshadowing.
Well, she also says something about, like, she's trying to reach back to a friend that she feels like she let down and lost touch with and is now back in her life. And again, That does kind of fit Aiko, but it fits Buki way better.
Yeah. If she's Apollo, anyway.
If she's Apollo.
Which, very, very heavily hinted.
Yeah.
And as I've said before, the rom-com based on meeting someone you've made a promise to doesn't necessarily mean that will be the person the main character ends up with. Because Nisekoi does not end up with what's-his-face ending up with the girl who has the key to his locket.
Yes.
He ends up dating a fucking cop. No, sorry. Chitake is Yakuza. He's the cop.
Right.
Terrible, either way.
Yes. Anyway, I can't stall this any longer. I have to talk about the Buki indignity. So, this conversation at night it escalates, and she's talking about not being sure whether she deserves to be a singer and so on. And he tells her that she has no right to hold back her gift. And she asks him, well, would you be happy if somebody wrote a song for you? And he's like, of course I would. And then they get to the day. So he's arranged a concert spot for her. And it's a prominent one in a popular location. And this is very nerve-wracking for her. He's there to support her, tells her, look, if it's getting too much for you, just look at me. And he reveals that he's brought glow sticks. It's a daytime street concert for a new artist.
Yep.
She calls him cringe, rightly so. And his response is, what? You would use the word cringe to describe yours truly?
After which, you uttered, oh God, he's me.
I do all these things to support musicians and other creatives in my life. Like, I truly believe in doing all these things. And it is cringe. Like, I've definitely told this story before, maybe not on this podcast. When I used to be in student music and, like, the local music scene, I would very deliberately always stand right up at the front in front of the stage when the crowd wasn't really getting into it. Because people will stand behind the first person. But that means that crowds kind of recede from the stage gradually.
Yeah.
As people like go to the bar and then they come back and they stand further back. I would always stand up way up at the front and make as much noise as possible so that other people might actually join me. And it is cringe. And sometimes I cringed doing it. But I did it, and it meant my friends went supported, and that matters. And in Buki's defense, and I can't believe I'm coming to this man's defense after 11 fucking episodes of this series. In Buki's defense, it works. And she has a great gig. After a rocky start, she has a great gig, and she inspires a younger girl who comes up and stands right in front of her and is like wrapped in attention, and it's great. I have justice on my side. And unfortunately, that side is Yamabuki's side. And if that wasn't cursed enough, we just watched the last episode of You Can't Be in a Rom-Com with Your Childhood Friends, which is too cursed to talk about.
It's not. We're going to talk about it anyway.
Well, you talk about it then.
Well, Ayu's being, excessive in his refusal to acknowledge that he can have feelings for his childhood friends, and it's creeping all the girls out.
He fully pluralized himself.
And then kills the altar.
He created an altar who is the creepiest fucking kids show mascot robot gone wrong. Family-friendly weirdness. And he keeps this persona up through almost the entirety of Sports Day. Well, almost the entirety of the morning of Sports Day.
Yeah.
Including through the three-legged race, which he runs with Akari.
Who gets mad at him and starts pulling ahead of him because she wants to get through the fucking race.
It's animated like she's running with one of those big, like, inflatable floppy men that there are outside car dealerships tied to her ankle.
Yeah.
Then, after that, he goes away to, like, wash his hands and have a moment where he can relax away from the girls.
And starts arguing.
He gets into an argument with creepy Ayu, who is like, you're ruining everything by getting horny about your childhood friends. And Runako finds him and drives off creepy Ayu by saying that creepy Ayu is creepy, which creepy Ayu didn't realize. And then Runako gives Ayu like a lesson in love about how she's actually fine if he gets horny about her, and also he should not try to fight being horny about his childhood friends, provided he also like cherishes them, which he does. And then he's in the scavenger race. And of course, He pulls the someone you really, 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 really love card. And I swear to God, I'd have a joke here if I could remember the name of the protagonist of The 100 Girlfriends.
Rentaro Ijo.
That's the one. Yeah. He gets the Rentaro card.
Yep.
And so he rounds up all 4 girls, holding
2 in each hand.
their hands, 2 in each of his hands, and drags them all to the finish line and wins. And it's accepted that even though he says he doesn't really know how he feels about them, they are his precious childhood friends. That's good enough for someone you really, 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 really love. Which means that his team wins Sports Day. Hilariously, Haru is on the other team, but she gets dragged into this.
Yep.
And then we get to the next day or whatever, and they're all like going to school together, and
He tries to play it normal cool, and they all go, oh no, he's going creepy again, let's run. And he's just like, what the fuck?
he is literally, he ends the season screaming in confusion and frustration, which is perfectly apt for this fucking show, and I can only hope that reading the manga makes you make noises as squeaky as I have made watching the damn thing.
No, it won't, but I will have a lot of fun posting things at you and watching you react.
There was a cute girl in the Heroes Party Star Drag confessing to her episode 11. We have to talk about a lot of setup for like one moment here.
Yeah.
So Raven is struggling to keep his cool with Happiness after she gave him a kiss on the cheek. So Yoki and Cecilia and Duke and Irene, I can't even remember who Irene is, but she's along for this.
Just like an underling of the night, I think.
Okay. They all go on like a multi-date so that Raven and Happiness can spend some time together, and Happiness has got a new site that she really wants to go to, and Raven and Cecilia realize what it is, and Yoki doesn't get it. And Raven and Cecilia really don't want to go there because it turns out that the site is a brand new statue of the Heroes Party. And Raven and Cecilia feel like super cringe about being there. In the process of this, Raven is talking to Happiness in his like very femme voice, and some of the soldiers who are his underlings overhear him, and they bully him about his voice until Happiness helps him stand up to them, and that's great. But the big sticking point is Happiness is a demon, Raven hates demons, but Happiness decides she's going to be brave and she's going to tell him the truth. And there is a genuinely beautiful scene, eventually, which we only see in flashback, of her, like, appearing to Raven in her harpy form in this gorgeous, like, magical woodland glade. It's great. They accept one another, but Raven attacks Yoki before Yoki knows about this, and Yoki assumes that Raven has killed Happiness and is there to kill him because he's found out that Yoki is also a demon, but actually Raven is just mad with Yoki because Yoki is the one who plucked off Happiness's feathers so she could pose as a human. And then in revenge for Raven attacking Yoki over that, Yoki chains Raven to the floor on top of Happiness.
And then leaves.
And then leaves them there.
To go have tea with Cecilia. It's really good.
Where she is trying to work up the courage to tell him that she's being subject to an arranged marriage that is happening very quickly. And before she can do so, Raven and Happiness, who have escaped from the chains, burst in and pursue Yoki out the window. And it's somewhere in
stage
here...
right, pursued by couple. I've made that joke like 3 times this season.
It's a good joke! And hey, it's Shakespeare, so it's classical. But somewhere in here it's revealed that Yuga has recruited Yoki to go out of town that weekend, which coincidentally is when Cecilia's fiancé is arriving. And I can't tell whether this is Yuga trying to protect Yoki from learning the truth, or Yuga trying to run away from the truth himself, because of course he is also in love with Cecilia, or Yuga being Yuga, it could just be him being a big dope.
I think it's the latter. I genuinely think he's not that aware.
Speaking of characters being big dopes...
The Big Dopes show.
It's so good. I'm so glad this show exists. I would have gone insane this season without it. In You and I Are Polar Opposites, episode 10, which we are again a week behind on because we're waiting for the dubs, because the dubs are so good. It's school trip time, and there's a bunch of stuff about school trip planning. Suzuki's class are, like, super motivated to work together to do the kind of paperworky bits of the planning, but they have more hands than they need, and Yamada ends up kind of just standing around at a loose end, so he drifts over to Nishi and Honda's class. And there's a wonderful scene of him hanging out with Nishi and Honda, helping them because they've been abandoned by the rest of their class. And Honda wills herself invisible so that Nishi and Yamada can talk. which is great, but Nishi does reach the point of social overload, poor girl.
Mm-hmm. And then begins shrinking.
She really does. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of various characters thinking and stressing about, like, obviously you want to be in a couple on the school trip and you want to do coupley stuff on the trip and stuff. Taira and Azuma aren't thinking about any of that because they are having, like, the teenage angst and are stumbling their way into making really good progress. Because
I don't know if teenage angst specifically describes what's going on there, but it's definitely like they're both having to think about some things.
I think they are actually having pretty grounded versions of teenage angst. Like, Taira is still convinced that he's a nobody and that he doesn't matter to anybody. And so, like, he thinks the reason that Azuma's comfortable hanging out with him is that there are no stakes, which is kind of true, but puts a slant on it, typically of Taira, that is completely unfair to him.
Kicks rock over here.
Yes, we're coming for you. Meanwhile, Azuma is realizing that she's way less social than she thinks she is, than she's been thinking of herself as. And that's part of why she finds Taira so chill to be around, is because he's very unassuming like that. They're great, I love them. They get to the start of the trip, and Suzuki is getting frustrated, basically, because while her relationship with Tani is very sincere and very loving, it is very chaste. And she's starting to feel that she wants, like, more physical contact, more intimacy. She says at one point, like, she's bemoaning that she is cute rather than sexy. Like, she's talking to Azuma, who is sexy, or is, like, constructed as one of the sexy characters. And she's like, I don't want to just be cute. I want to, like, be able to attract lust. And she says, I just want to stop being mousy and give him mouse to mouse, which is a blinder of a line.
It really is, especially when Azuma then replies, "What a mice." It's really a good reply to that insane line to come out of nowhere.
I mean, it's an insane line to come out of nowhere. It's not the only insane line that Suzuki...
Azuma has to deal with.
Well, it's not the only insane line that Suzuki says in that conversation.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, later that night, she finds Tani. They're alone. They're having another chat about their relationship, and Tani is thanking Suzuki for, like, how much of a positive change she's wrought in his life. And, you know, she tells him she loves him, and she uses his first name, and he leans into her and whispers her first name. And, like, just as it looks like some mouse-to-mouse might happen, she freaks out and runs off because she has the composure of...
a mouse?
Yeah, that would do it. It's so good. But also, girl, you gotta stand your ground if you want him to kiss you.
Yeah.
If you make him run after you through the corridors, people are gonna get the wrong idea. We've seen that in too many fucking shows already. Anyway, trying to be quicker about these.
Yes.
Invisible Man and his soon-to-be wife, episode 11. Tonome and Shizuka are visiting Tonome's parents in the town of the Invisibles, which to Shizuka is no different to any other town.
Yep.
She's fine with it. And a really interesting thing happens where it's kind of revealed later in the episode that Tonome grew up in a mixed city, not in the town of the Invisibles. And so when his parents moved to the town of the Invisibles, he was actually pretty scared to be surrounded by invisible people and not really know who anyone was. And we get some fun backstory about his friend who became the first invisible person to be a model, which he accomplished by, like, doing incredibly cool shit, like sick as hell shit with tattoos and body paint.
Yeah. Also, like, the first, like, third of this episode is a lot... Actually, there are a lot of sequences in this one that are really abstract because it's representing a lot of stuff that is based around invisible people or Shizuka, like, interacting with people. So there's not a lot of traditional ways that you can convey that in a visual medium.
Yeah.
So they get kind of funky with it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Tonome's parents have kind of planned for Tonome bringing a non-invisible person to visit. So they are wearing masks, which of course Shizuka can't see. It's such a good gag.
Yep.
And the other thing we get here is that Tonome's father says a couple of times that he believes that invisible people should be fully invisible all the time. And Tonome kind of under his breath or later is like, I don't agree with that. And eventually, like, what comes out of the conversation with his childhood friend, the model, is Shizuka realizing that the reason Tonome likes to be partially visible is so that he can show off his suits, which he is a pretty snappy dresser, to be fair.
Yeah.
Holy Grail of Eris, we're not going to dwell on because, oh my god, there is always too much shit going on in this show. There's so many revelations. The Hot Lady Knight from the neighboring country that might be about to invade turns out to be the, locked away third princess of that kingdom in disguise. At one point, it's just, very offhandedly.
Yep.
And then we get the Princess Cecilia's backstory, in which she grew up in an orphanage with a character that she referred to as her brother, except that when tragedy struck, she was killed, and the character we thought was her brother turns out to be her.
Yep.
And in the present day, she's taking contraceptives. I was so bewildered. I thought for a big chunk of that reveal that the reveal was going to be that she's actually trans femme.
No.
But that doesn't fit with the contraceptives.
Anyway. The flashback was oh, you look like a boy, but you're a girl, huh?
Yeah. Hopefully we get some closure next week.
Yep.
However that happens, because there's a lot going on.
There's so much going on. Maybe we'll get a season 2 announcement, but yeah.
Tell me about Misanthrope Teaches a Class of Demihumans, episodes 7 to 11.
Yeah, we got to right about where the second volume was about to hit animation, and I was just I kind of want to just read this and not wait for weekly updates. So I went ahead and read that, and I came back, watched the stuff that got adapted. So the first 6 episodes are what comprises volume 1 of the book, but 7 through 10, so 4 episodes for volume 2, and it's a new class of, a couple new
students.
Yeah, there are a couple new students. One of which is a dragon, and one of which is a mouse, one of which is a cat. This class goes up to 6. Ryuzaki is the dragon. She has a giant crush on the teacher, and her episode is about going, hey, we're a student and teacher. Maybe chill on that a little. I understand that you have had a long life, and you're not actually underage, but we're a student and teacher here, and I don't like this power dynamic, so, push it to the back burner.
Yes, age gap is not the only problem with student-teacher relationships.
And she does still, shout that she loves him, but she is much more, chill about it after the episode, talking about her past and why she decided to become a human, which is nice. I still like her as a character.
Surprise, surprise, you like the dragon
who
falls in love with the schlub.
I'm gonna punch you.
You deserve that one. Shut up.
Anyway, Nanako, the black cat, doesn't actually want to be a human. She wants to be with her mistress, the witch, but she has been gaining too much mana, and magic, when in a cat for too long, turns them into a monster, and they end up letting her basically quit school and spend time with her master on the school grounds to research how to keep that from happening. And then we get to Isaki and Isaki, who graduate at the end of the year. And it's cute because everyone loves both of the Isakis, and they know that they're going to become 2 people after they graduate. So they hold a separate graduation on the full moon in the AV room for the human quote unquote Isaki.
Aww.
It's good.
Yeah.
Rei also delivers a letter from Usami to her caretaker, her one real contact in the human world, to her grave. And on the way, he ends up meeting her daughter and basically lets her know that Usami is doing all right because she was entrusted to his student, quote unquote, because he can't talk about stuffed animal becoming. And yeah, he gets a business card to give Usami when she graduates so that they can get in contact. But at the end of volume 2 and the end of episode 10, it's revealed that the next year we'll have an assistant teacher come in. And that assistant teacher is the high school girl who got Rei fired from his job. And it goes into a flashback of her basically hanging out in his social studies prep room because she's being bullied. And when he tries to do anything to act on that and help her out, the person bullying her turns out to be the daughter of a really heavy donor to the school. So he ends up getting blamed for some physical abuse that was going on, and she lashes out at him because she doesn't have anything else that she can do in the moment. And when they finally meet back up, he kind of flinches at the thought, but she goes, well, we're both adults now, we can put this behind us. And I'm just like, I don't know where that's gonna go. I'm not. It's also, I had this thought, it's interesting that because of this being a story about, these characters are not being educated on a similar scale to normal kids, and also because this main character is a teacher who is an adult and is like, we experience time differently as we get older.
Yeah.
It feels kind of weirdly abbreviated. Like, one volume is 1 year, like a one school year, is a weirdly abbreviated thing for how anime usually goes.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because, like I said, they're not experiencing, like, you have 3 years in this high school kind of situation.
Yeah.
They're progressing based on, like, merit and capabilities. So,
yeah,
it's kind of a weird thing. And also, the stuff that's relevant for, like, what a teacher would see in someone's development is different from their day-to-day.
Yeah.
So it's interesting having that play out in, especially an adaptation like this. And that was a thought I had when I was just like, it's really weird that they've gone through 2 years in 10 episodes.
Yes. So it's so rare for an anime to do that.
Also, we've hit the third batch of students, and there's a pink and purple Oni and a fairy prince girl who's targeting Becky mostly.
I mean, I like how you didn't mention how much pink and purple Oni is targeting you.
Of course not. Why would I do that?
Nice try.
Yeah, no, it's very Selen Tatsuki coded.
Yes.
How her design is, and
I mean, it's a little bit Selen and Pomu, let's be real. Again.
My ship! It's real!
Anyway, we are also still watching Villainess is Adored by the Prince of the Neighboring Kingdom, which finishes next week, and it's Tiara did do a thing this week, at least.
Wow. It only took her 11 episodes.
Roll Over and Die. We could have talked about that one today, because a lot happened, but we'll save it. Reborn as Dragon's Egg, I think, likewise. In older stuff, so Dougram update, episodes 22 to 27, so we're moving into the third core, as we would now break this down. That framing didn't really exist in the 80s. The subtitle of the show is Fang of the Sun. This is the name of the guerrilla unit that is formed around Kryn and Rocky. It's coined by the journalist character Lertoff, who is very, very proud to have done this and to have it catch on, and he rubs it in the Federation guys' face when they try to stop him doing stuff. We hit the classic mecha series bit of the mech gets a new, more powerful weapon, right as the enemy mechs get better armor. So a whole bunch of things that did work against them now don't. A thing that is really weird is that, the scenario and the story of this show are so serious and are so determined to connect themselves to real politics and warfare of the mid to late 20th century. And yet, because it is animation, because it is early enough in the post-war history of the anime industry to still have a pretty significant Western influence, some of the characters look like they could be in Scooby-Doo. There's a lot of slapstick in the animations. Visually, it's very like Patlabor, which is sometimes very jarring. Like, one of the bits that happens in here is they go to break one of the resistance leaders out of prison, and the prisoners in this, military prison have been plotting an escape for ages, and when they get the signal to start the plot, they start pulling apart their bed frames because they have used the tubing of the bed frames to make improvised firearms. I don't know if you've ever seen the film The Day of the Jackal.
I haven't seen a lot of films on. We've been over that.
I'm just checking, and also for the benefit of the audience, but there's a trick gun in Day of the Jackal that the titular Jackal uses because it's designed to be snuck into a place, and these guns, to me, I am sure are a visual homage to that. Except that in The Day of the Jackal, the trick gun is like a single shot, and then you have to almost disassemble it to reload it. In this, they break out of the prison, and they're using these things like machine guns. It's like, how did they get this much ammo? And as part of the plan to get into the prison, to start the prison break, the resistance fighters outside come up with a plan where they strap time bombs to logs and float them downriver, hoping to set the timers on the bombs so that they go off right as they pass the wharf for the prison. And it's like, that's so absurd.
At least do the math, I hope.
They did the math. They made a fuss about, like, one of the characters who's the nerd had done the math, and he got defensive about this. But, like, come on. That's not how fluid dynamics work. You can't do fluid dynamics. Anyway, during the prison break, like, there's the warden and the regular staff of the prison, but also because of this very important resistance leader being there, there's a military unit there to, like, pick him up and transfer him to the next place they're keeping him. And the prison warden and Zaltsev, the commander of the military unit, rub each other the wrong way. And what happens is, when the prison break starts, Zaltsev orders the warden to put Samelin, the resistance leader, on a helicopter so that they can be ready to move him out if the situation goes bad. And the warden decides to disobey that order because he thinks it's an offense to his prison, the idea that this guy could be rescued. So he's like, no, we're going to keep him here. And when things do go bad and the soldiers are losing, Zaltsev orders the helicopter to lift off and then gets on the speaker system and goes, attention, resistance fighters, we've got your guy in this helicopter and we'll kill him if you don't stand down. And there's a bit of a standoff for a while because the guy who's supposed to be in the helicopter is, like, isolated from the other prisoners, but he is in the process of breaking out. And then the radio message comes through, like, hey, we got Samelin, he's safe. And the resistance fighters just blow up the heli. And this colonel is left just, like, standing there yelling in rage because the pilots have time to radio, like, yeah, like, you told us to take off. You didn't ask us whether Samelin was on board. We tried to tell you and you shouted us down.
Good grief.
Anyway, the overarching plot of this show is this kid, Kryn, went to Deloya for reasons, got caught up in the resistance, and his kind of sort of girlfriend from back home has followed him and has, for like 20 episodes, been trying to reach him. And in this final episode of this set, she does reach him, and he does not want to talk to her. He doesn't want anything to do with her, doesn't want her around, doesn't want her in danger. And he tells her, I'm not the man you used to know. And it's like, you were not a man. You are still a boy. You're like 17 or something. What the fuck?
Good grief.
It's a good moment. Anyway, A Gatherer's Adventure in Isekai, episodes 10 to 12.
Yeah, A Gatherer's Adventure in Isekai. So this is a show that I was talking about in pieces earlier in the show because it aired in fall 2025.
Yes.
And I kind of fell off of it. And I went back and watched the rest of it because I wanted to have it off my list and it seemed like it was going to be decent fun. And I immediately came back to, you know, the show about, oh, I'm going to be a gatherer and God made me really tall for some reason in another world. And I come back to, oh, we found the High Elves village. Oh God, they're all inbred and they have genetic, like, hereditary issues. And also my party member is intersex and it's apparently fine with either binary gender pronouns. Okay, That was all the first episode I came back to. And then they go and fight a thing that is causing a lot of mana to build up in the region. And then they go look for Brolight, the character in question's sister, who has been missing. And she ran away from home because she was tired of living in the fucking incest village. Where all the children are dying because the bloodlines are too close together.
Yeah.
And she was explicitly stated in these episodes is that one of the elven women from the High Elves had her child die because she was made to marry her twin brother and have a kid, and the kid didn't make it.
Yeah, no kidding.
And Brolight's sister was also threatened / in line to have children with Brolight.
Yeah.
But she eventually ran away. Got a normal husband with, you know, elves from other villages.
Yeah.
And they have to go back and go, hey, the Spirit King told us to tell you to stop fucking each other. Please get some new blood in this village and you will stop having cursed kids. That was not the tone I expected of the last 3 episodes of this show.
Yeah, no kidding. Christ alive.
Yeah. And then it's just like, okay, have fun with that. We're going to go back to doing adventure stuff. And then they end by Brolight going, actually, I'm going to also leave my village so that I can go adventuring and go meet new people. Let's go to the sea and have some seafood. The tone is all over the place in some of these shows, and I don't hate it, but like, woof.
Yeah, the tone swerves aren't the problem. It's where the tone swerved to in this case.
Yup.
Let us relocate to an island of stability, of all things.
No, I don't think it's an island. I think it's a city.
It's on an island.
Yeah, in Japan. That is true.
It is funny that this is the sane one of the shows we're watching at the moment. Like,
Sorry!
The way you have talked about this show, A Certain Magical Index, and I know you've said that it kind of changes later on, the early bit that we've been watching so far, maybe this doesn't apply to, but like, the way you've talked about this show, I was not expecting to encounter a really complicated and intriguing Christian magic system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Toma and Index have taken refuge in their teacher's flat because Index needs medical treatment. And the teacher is drawn as, like, an elementary schooler. I don't know whether she's actually supposed to be an elementary schooler.
Did you not see her apartment covered in beer cans and cigarette butts? She is not 8 years old, no matter what your notes say.
I mean, a design choice has been made here.
Yes, that I will agree with.
And I do find it really unsettling and kind of upsetting to watch. But they do this ritual to summon an angel who will heal Index. And as, among other things, a person with an interest in comparative religion, as a fantasy author with an interest in designing magic systems, this is one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen of, like, magic being done. They gather up a bunch of odds and ends from around the teacher's flat and use them to sort of totemically represent a temple. Like, there's clearly some sort of definition of what has to be present to be a temple. So they get little things to be like, this matchbox or whatever is the altar, and so on. And the first stage of the ritual is to arrange this stuff on the table as a temple and imbue the tabletop surface with the properties of a temple so that an angel can be summoned into it. And then the teacher has to, like, visualize an angel, and she struggles with the visualization, and the world starts melting. The first attempt fails, and they try again, and they succeed, and it all works, but it rules. Genuinely. I am hooked. And there's also a great bit where Index is talking about the Christian faith as it is in this world. You know, she's an Anglican Christian. And there's a thing about why there are so many different forms of Christianity. Why does Christianity schism so much? Which is a perfectly fine question for a Japanese piece of media to ask. Like, lots of Japanese media reckons with this problem of Christianity. And Index says very explicitly, this is because the church keeps getting involved in politics. Which is a reasonable claim, and extraordinary to see in an anime about a weird girl who bites Toma a lot. She did bite Toma more in this episode, which is good.
Yeah, that tracks it. You would be like, yeah, the futon biting the idiot is great.
Yes, it is.
You do like cats. It's fine, Tara won't listen to this section.
I really hope she does now. Anyway, in Outbreak Company, episode 8, Petralka, I think perfectly validly, goes into a sulk about all the work she's having to do as a tiny child on whom the weight of the Empire has fallen. And Shinichi ends up teaching Petralka about being a shut-in and how to be a shut-in. And pretty quickly, Petralka realizes that it's no life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, this is bleak and depressing, actually, and I want to reconnect with my life and my friends and stuff. She does have, like, a genuinely tragic backstory to explain why she kind of feels this way and the situation she's in. But also, at one point, Shinichi and Petralka sneak out of her room late at night to go and get a bath, and they have to avoid the guards in the palace. So Shinichi distracts them, and the way he distracts them is by throwing erotic precure dojins at them.
Yep.
Which, even with all the other cursed stuff we've watched this week, might have been the most cursed thing this week.
Mm-hmm.
That was upsetting.
Why are you carrying that around, dude?
Yeah, that too.
It's one, like, there's a second level to this, and it's, why do you have that porn on you?
Yeah. And how did you know that this was the porn that would work on those guards?
Because he's literally sharing his collection with the people he's indoctrinating. That's the problem.
That is one of the problems.
Yes.
This show is troubling. Which is a perfect segue to the final show we're going to talk about today. We have started watching To Love Ru, or as it would be pronounced approximately in Japanese, Torobaru.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, sure, very silly and very horny. Like, lots of panty shots and boob shots and all that, and, like, accidental groping and la 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 la.
You ain't seen nothing yet, girl.
We have only watched one episode. It's too early to judge. But so far, I have been way less bothered by it than you made me think I would be.
We also haven't gotten that far in it.
Yes, I know.
Season 1 is a lot more tame comedy alien bullshit than the horny nonsense that goes on in Darkness, which is a separate second season.
So we're in Cat Planet Cuties territory at the moment.
Lighter than Cat Planet Cuties.
Fair. Anyway, like, there's a recurring gag of Rito being struck by disasters anytime anything is vaguely going his way romantically, and I'm not going to get bored of that. Like, a meteor should hit this boy every episode.
No! He deserves better.
He can clearly survive it.
Yeah, but that's because he's in a rom-com and not a fucking anything else.
Yep.
He will survive a... To quote Genie from The Return of Jafar, ? You'd be surprised what you can live through. Anyway.
So we're watching That Right is a project of Slimebug Productions. Intro and outro music is by me, graphics are by Val. You can find us on Blue Sky at slimebug.bsky.social, YouTube at youtube.com/slimebugproductions, Patreon at patreon.com/slimebugproductions. Download all episodes from libsync at slimebug.pro and join our Discord via the link in the description. Thanks for listening, and until next time, may anime neither betray nor disappoint you.